almost late, but not. When you were answering my last question, you were like, I think I would go for British. Not that there's anything wrong with Mexicans, but that accent. And then you went on to talk about how great the British accent was. But at first, I thought you were going to diss the Mexican accent. And I was like, excuse me? Are you really going there? Because I know it can sound a little bit silly, but let me tell you, when it's coming from someone hot, it's hot. So, I have a crush on this boy. It's my first little girl crush in a long time. The rest have just sort of grown into, man, I'm so fond of this person. But this is my first, like, wow, I just met him today and I can't stop thinking about him type of thing. And I'm really happy, like really happy. He is so cute, like seriously. You'd love him. You'd think so too. I can't think of anything to say. My question for you. Would you rather have no friends and a boyfriend that you knew loved you and, like, you were pretty sure would never leave you? And, you know, all that. Or would you rather just be alone and have lots of friends? To answer that myself, I don't actually know. I think I would rather have friends, though. But, yeah, I would rather have friends. But I'm just wondering, like, if you have the choice. Sorry, this is lame. And my excerpt takes up most of it. But so did yours, so I don't feel that bad. You can just turn it off if you get bored. But I hope you don't, because that would say a lot about my writing. This is the part of my story. It's actually currently untitled, but it is the story that you know and love, but slightly edited. I don't think you have read this particular draft. On Friday, I went to the library after school and sat at one of the tables close to the door so that Derek would see me. I took the folder out of my backpack and placed it in front of me. Derek came in the door and nodded in my direction to acknowledge me, but went to the front desk to return 3 rather large books before he came to sit across from me. "Hi," I said, and smiled at him in an attempt to be friendly. "Hey," he said, leaning back in his chair. Neither of us said anything for a few moments, so I said, "How's your week been?" "Fine," he said. "What's all that?" he asked, pointing to the papers in front of me. "Oh," I said. I handed him the form and a pen. "Fill this out." "Why?" he asked, getting strangely defensive. "I don't know," I said. "They just told me to get you to." He sighed and looked at it skeptically, and then he started filling it out very rapidly. He handed it back, and I put it in the folder without looking. "Thank you," I said. "No problem." "So do you want to study?" I asked. "Didn't bring any books," he said. "What's that other stuff?" I picked up the page that had his history, or lack thereof, on it, and handed it to him. He laughed. "Nice," he said. "You got nothing?" "So it seems," I said, annoyed that he hadn't brought any books. "They also gave me a list of questions to ask you to get some thoughtful conversation going. You interested?" He laughed again, obviously finding this absurd, but said, "Go for it." "Fine," I said, and I looked at the list. "This is boring," he interrupted. "Let's go for a walk." He stood up and took the folder and the list of questions and my backpack. He slung it around his shoulder. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Being a gentleman," he said. "Come on." I stood up and we walked out of the library in silence. We walked outside towards the park, but he turned just before we got there. "Where are we going?" I asked. He ignored me, so I asked again a few minutes later. He continued to ignore me and to walk in the direction of nothing, so I said, "You're being a bad peer. You're supposed to listen to me. Where are we going? There's nothing over here. This isn't going to be like in some movie, is it? A bunch of your tough friends aren't going to come out from behind something and beat me up, are they? I rambled when I was nervous, and now I was making myself scared. My voice got higher and faster, and I slowed down, but didn't stop, so eventually he was a few feet ahead of me. If that's what you're planning, I'm sorry. I don't want to make your life miserable. I'm just trying to be a nice person and help someone out. I didn't think it would be you. Shut up, he said, stopping and turning around. To my surprise, he was smiling. I'm not mad or anything. Just walking. I breathed out for the first time in what felt like a long time and said, okay, sorry. I was pissed that he'd let me talk for so long. We started walking again. You, like walking? I asked, making pathetic small talk. Love it, he said. Do you walk a lot? I continued, unable to keep my mouth shut. Almost everywhere. Cool. That's cool, I said. He nodded and didn't say anything else. I frowned. Tell me something, I said. Like what? Tell me something about yourself, I said. Anything. He thought for a moment. I like big butts, he said. No, seriously. I like big butts, and I cannot lie, he said, like he was serious. Whatever, I said, rolling my eyes. He laughed and said, I'm just kidding. I like little butts, actually. I like little things. Little dogs, little flowers, little cars, little people, he said. Really? This surprised me. It surprises you because I'm so big, right? He asked. Do you only like little things? No, I like all kinds. What do you prefer? Depends what sort of thing we're talking about. No, it doesn't. I mean right now. You have to pick big or little. What do you pick? Big, I said. See? I like little. Interesting, I said. Tell me something about you, he said. Like what? Anything. Okay, I said. I thought for a moment. I love Audrey Hepburn. Breakfast at Tiffany's is my all-time favorite movie. I think she's just the most amazing and graceful person I've ever seen, and I wish I was exactly like her. This may have not seemed like a big deal, but I had never told anyone this before. Why I picked Derek to tell, I don't know. Maybe because I didn't care what he thought, or maybe it was because I did care what he thought. That's awesome, said Derek. She's awesome. I like my Fair Lady. Me too, I said excitedly. He laughed. There's a party, I said without thinking, at a friend of mine's house. I wondered if he wanted to go. His eyes seemed guarded, but he contemplated. Sure, he said. I couldn't really tell if he was happy about it or not. Cool. It's, tonight. At Tommy George's house. I thought about mentioning that there would be alcohol there, but I doubted that would bother Derek. Yeah, sure, he said. I grinned, oddly thrilled that he'd agreed. Ross wouldn't like this at all, but it wouldn't be that big a deal. He'd get over it. Tommy's fight with Derek was almost 2 years ago now, and it was time they both got over it. Awesome, I said. Why are you inviting me? He asked. I stared at the ground as I thought of my answer. I hadn't thought he would ask that, and I wasn't really sure how to respond because I wasn't really sure why I had invited him. To make my boyfriend mad, I lied. Ross Marlin? Asked Derek. Yeah, I said. Derek nodded. Cool, he said. I should go. I told my dad I'd help him with something. I'll see you tonight. I nodded and said, okay. He turned and left. As soon as he was out of sight, my nerve began to get the best of me. Ross was going to kill me.